political ascendancy over him in Rome.
Yeah, that probably fucking didn't... That probably made shit not play out the way that they thought.
Octavian managed his own propaganda campaign and succeeded. The Roman people hated Mark Antony and Cleopatra. To avoid the censure still inherent in attacking a fellow Roman, Octavian simply declared war against Egypt. Rome's power still reigned supreme. The powerful Egyptian fleet, led by Cleopatra as well as Mark Antony's forces, were defeated in 31 BCE in Actium. Octavian arrived in Egypt in 30 BCE to formalize his victory.
Yeah, this statue got fucked up. Coins had the impression of their rulers and political figures at the time. Yeah, but I just find it weird considering, like, they have other images to show and they could have... For the presentation, I don't find that the coins were the best option. That's what my point is.
The following events remain difficult to confirm due to the many versions and legends around them. It is believed that after hearing a rumor about Cleopatra's suicide, Mark Antony committed suicide himself. He was brought to the queen as he slowly passed away. Knowing that Octavian would have her chained and paraded through Rome in defeat, Cleopatra planned her own suicide. She most likely killed herself with arsenic, though admittedly the version where she uses an asp to deliver a fatal bite may be considered more dramatic. What happened to the body of Cleopatra is still a mystery.
The fact that she's, like, laying there trying to fake dead and then scratches herself is funny to me. But I didn't know I didn't know that we didn't know what happened to Cleopatra's corpse. There's a good chance she just faked it and then left. I mean... This one's long. Siege of Alexandria.
Welcome to the Siege of Alexandria.
We still haven't done the Among Us thing? I was waiting to be told when we're doing it. I was asked if I'm up for it. I said yes. Was there an actual date posted in the thingy, or... Let me just quickly hop in and check. Where the hell is that? Here. There we go. No, just soon. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm unemployed. I'm unemployed. Meaning my schedule is as open as it can be.
Among the collection of writings attributed to Julius Caesar are his descriptions of the Siege of Alexandria, the Gallic Wars, and the commentaries on the Civil War. These archives contain information on different campaigns, the Wars of Alexandria, Africa, and Spain. Each of them recounts Caesar's military activity from 58 BCE to 45 BCE. Though Caesar's documents remain a main source of information, it's important to note that the perspective is limited. It is necessary for other historical documents to be taken into consideration to provide a better understanding of events.
Yeah, I mean, he could have easily just depicted things how he felt they were, and Could have been completely wrong because he might have been delusional.
The Siege of Alexandria closely relays the events of the Civil War that led up to the event and describes how Caesar was besieged in the palace of the Ptolemies. Other ancient authors have left equally valuable and sometimes contradictory information.
Very nice. What was that? Why am I so limited? If I go with the bird. Damn it. Wanted that screenshot.
In the events leading up to the Siege of Alexandria, Cleopatra VII and her brother were fighting over control of Egypt. Young King Ptolemy XIII's regent, Pothinus, had firm control over the young pharaoh, and an outmaneuvered Cleopatra soon went into hiding. This set the stage for Pompey's arrival in Alexandria. Having lost his battle against Caesar in 48 BCE, the Roman general turned to his allies, the Egyptians, for safe harbor. But on the advice of Pothinus, Ptolemy XIII had Pompey assassinated in the hopes of earning Caesar's favor. This would turn out to be a most unfortunate decision.
Have fun with the game. I mean, technically we're not playing a game anymore, we're just going over Egyptian history, but I'm going to have fun regardless. You have good time doing what you have planned for today, fuck! Shut up, don't even acknowledge that I said the wrong name. Have fun doing what you're doing today, soul. God fucking damn it. And yeah, him assassinating Pompey kind of pissed Caesar off, so that didn't exactly go the way he wanted it to. Still a game? Yeah.
Upon his arrival in Alexandria, Caesar was presented with Pompey's head. The sight of a Roman murdered by Egyptians did not sit well with him. Caesar made his displeasure clear, ordering the return of Cleopatra, and for the siblings to resolve their differences and resume their co-rule of Egypt, as per the will of their father. Neither Pothinus nor Ptolemy XIII wished to accede to this demand. While doing his best to aggravate Caesar, Pothinus secretly plotted against the Roman ruler, and sent word for Egyptian general Achilles to bring his 20,000 men to fight on his behalf. While Pothinus plotted against Caesar, Cleopatra made a bold move.
I like this painting. I mean, the next point's all the way over there. Seems like a much more direct route than running all the way around the city. You're a bit late, dude. Could have fucking got here a couple minutes earlier while I was on the other side of the fucking harbor. I like these carpets.
There are various descriptions of the encounter between Caesar and Cleopatra. One report states that she snuck into the palace alone at night. Another account claims she was accompanied by an ally and was brought inside the palace wrapped in a carpet bag. Though exactly what happened at this fateful meeting is up for debate, what is known is that Cleopatra met with Caesar and earned his approval. Pothinus and Ptolemy XIII were most vexed with this turn of events.
Oh. Can't imagine he likes his two enemies going, hey, let's be on the same side. I went around the building I needed to go into. God damn it. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
With Cleopatra finally present, Caesar chose to act as mediator between the siblings in the hopes of a peaceful resolution. It did not take long for things to sour. During a banquet given to celebrate the reconciliation, there was an assassination attempt on Caesar. It was the Roman leader's own barber who thwarted the attack. Once it was revealed that the king's regent, Pothinus, had ordered the attack, Caesar had him executed. He then placed the young king under guard.
Wait. These sphinxes look real cool.
Caught within the palace with roughly 4,000 troops, and with the knowledge that the arrival of enemy forces was imminent, Caesar sent for help from Syria, Rhodes, and Cilicia. He ordered his men to dig a ditch around the palace and build a wall leading to the harbor. This would ensure Caesar's access to the sea. When Egyptian General Achilles arrived in the city with 20,000 men, the battle for Alexandria began.
I like this painting too.
With so few men at his disposal, Caesar could not risk a battle just yet. He sent ambassadors to Achilles in the name of Ptolemy to propose a truce. Knowing that the orders did not come from the young king, and angered by the pharaoh's imprisonment, Achilles had the messengers assassinated.
God damn it.
With Caesar confined within the palace, Achilles positioned his troops around the city. Skirmishes broke out throughout the streets of Alexandria and went on for several days and nights. Though they were outnumbered, Caesar's men were able to hold the enemy back. This prompted Achilles' next move. capture the Roman fleet stationed in the harbor.
Excuse me, angry mob. That man just walked through the fire. Don't burn me. Okay, sweet. I don't actually think I can take any damage in this mode, so... I see they also don't give me my horse. I'd much rather run over people than bump into other horse riders, apparently.
Although the palace offered protection, losing the port meant the end of help and supplies. Caesar knew he had to protect the fleet. While he and his troops succeeded in regaining control of the port, he knew it would be impossible to sustain.
What?
Caesar ordered the burning of the ships. With passage back to the palace closed off, he headed for the lighthouse of Alexandria.
The lighthouse of Alexandria! So, something in this game better tell me that thing didn't actually exist, because if it was that big, that's fucking
the Egyptian
awesome.
troops, Caesar and his men eventually reached Pharos Island. There, they took refuge within the lighthouse. With easy access to the open sea, Caesar was able to send messages to his allies requesting reinforcements and more supplies. The island fort also allowed him to control access to the harbor by relying on the chains used by the Egyptians to control ship traffic to and from Alexandria's docks. The exact chronology of events during the war in Alexandria remain imprecise. Conflicting accounts raise questions as to when, and even if, the Great Library of Alexandria was burned down at all. One account states that during the fighting, docks and warehouses were burned, and this was the fire that spread to the library. In another account, when Achilles cut off the harbor, Caesar had to leave the safety of the palace to defend his ships. As the enemies battled across the port, their arsenals set ships ablaze, and this destruction spread to the library. In either case, the Great Library was not completely destroyed. Experts point out that its location was too far from the harbor, and much later texts refer to the Great Library as being intact. Warehouses near the harbor contained manuscript copies awaiting export, and it is more likely that these documents were destroyed than the Great Library itself.
I mean, is the Great Library not still around? Like...
The destruction of the Great Library may have been due to a number of fires over the ages. Its end was probably closer to the 4th century CE, when the Christian Emperor Theodosius I ordered the closure of all pagan temples. While some documents survived after being moved away, it remains unclear just what knowledge may have been lost. Where there are accounts of Achilles being in control of the battle against Caesar, It appears that instead, Cleopatra's sister, siding with her brother, had him killed and put her ally Ganymedes in his place. Ganymedes proved a valuable tactician for the Egyptian side. It was his idea to cut Caesar's access to the harbor, thus trapping Caesar at the palace. During the time of Ptolemy I, canals had been dug throughout Alexandria to provide fresh water. Ganymedes had his men take control of these canals. After isolating their own water supply, he had his men pour salt water into the canals and cisterns that led to Caesar's camp.
I mean, I hope he didn't... I hope he was ready for a longer war then.
Panic erupted in Caesar's men. They wouldn't last long without fresh water. Recognizing that the porous limestone could help them, Caesar and his men dug wells to restore their water supply. Days later, the 37th Legion, comprised of Pompey's soldiers, arrived by ship. Unable to come ashore due to the winds, Caesar risked going out to meet them on the peninsula, Cape Chersonese. When the enemy learned Caesar's location, they rushed to intercept. Despite an obvious advantage for the Alexandrians, Caesar, with a Rhodian ship full of skillful sailors, emerged victorious. With help from the Allied ships, Caesar's victory enabled him to push the Egyptians back and secure the lighthouse. Gaining control of Pharos Island sent the Alexandrians into the sea and swimming back to the city. However, Caesar's fortification of the island didn't last long. The enemy regrouped and were set to storm the island. Panic-stricken, in spite of Caesar's encouragement, many of his men then fled their posts, either by ship or jumping into the sea. Caesar attempted to retreat, but Port Eunostos' harbor was overrun with enemy ships, preventing escape. Reportedly, Caesar gathered his papers and leapt overboard in an attempt to swim to an Allied ship farther out. Historian Cassius Dio claimed that Caesar would have drowned if he hadn't been able to remove his purple garment. Still, he managed to swim the distance and survive. The Alexandrians recovered the cloak and used it as a trophy to commemorate the Roman debacle.
He just kind of dipped.
Unhappy with Ganymedes and wanting their king restored, the Alexandrians approached Caesar with a compromise. Caesar agreed to release Ptolemy XIII after entreating him to spare the kingdom and remain loyal to Rome. Once freed, however, the king defied the agreement and continued the war.
Yeah, and I'm sure that went so well with him.
By this time, a faithful ally of Caesar's, Mithridates, arrived in Egypt, clashing with Ptolemy's troops at Pelusium. Outnumbering the enemy, Mithridates secured the region between Pelusium and Alexandria. Ptolemy, warned of Caesar's ally marching on Alexandria, sent his troops to prevent passage over the river.
Did this work? I doubt it.
Mithridates warned Caesar in time, and the two groups confronted the armies of Ptolemy in the Delta. In the Battle of the Nile, the Romans gained the upper hand, sending the Egyptians fleeing. In the tumult and panic, King Ptolemy XIII drowned in the Nile. After the siege ended, Cleopatra VII married her younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, enabling her to reign over Egypt until 30 BCE. Under her rule, Alexandria settled into its position within the Roman Empire and eventually surpassed Athens as one of the most important cities in the Roman Empire. Julius Caesar remained in Egypt for a short time. He and Cleopatra would later have a son named Caesarion.
And we already know what happened after that.
You can use a mount to cover long distances quickly.
Thanks.
Welcome to Introduction to Alexandria. After conquering Egypt in 331 BCE, Alexander the Great decided to build a new city, which, as per his habit, he named after himself.
How much
After
did he
his
name
death,
after himself?
Alexandria quickly became the capital city of the Ptolemaic kingdom and the most important city of the Greek world.
Thanks for that, I guess.
The city was built between the Mediterranean Sea and Lake Mareotis, which resulted in Alexandria becoming a crucial cultural hub and trading center.
It's the George Foreman of history. How much shit did he name after himself? What's all named after Alexander the Great? What's all named after Alexander the Great?
According to Wikipedia, Alexander founded a series of new cities, all called Alexandria, including modern Kandahar in Afghanistan, and Alexandria Eskit, the furthest in modern Tajikistan.
He had, like, it's described as a series. Look, Jesus, 70 cities! This is Alexandria. Alexandria!
Sumptuous buildings could be seen wherever one turned their gaze. The royal palaces, the many temples, the gymnasium, lush public gardens, and large avenues.
Jesus fucking Christ.
With its incomparable beauty and advantageous geographic location, Alexandria attracted foreigners, intellectuals, and traders. One of the most cosmopolitan cities of the ancient world, Alexandria supplanted even Athens as the most important Greek city in history.
Well, I mean, wherever he went, he was home. Yeah, I guess, but still.
Egyptian obelisks were highly prized by Roman architects.
It's gonna open this.
While Roman design previously favored the use of a single monument, Egyptian obelisks tended to come in pairs and were generally located at the entrance of temples. Several ancient Egyptian obelisks are still in existence today, though many are spread out across the world in locations such as Paris, Rome, New York, and London. All of this shows that Alexandria was significantly influenced by the rich past of Egypt.
Yeah. The camera didn't like looking at the tip of the obelisk. Oops.
Alexandria had several main streets. Its most famous artery was the Canopic Way. It was lined with sumptuous buildings, houses, and temples, and was roughly 8 kilometers in length. This street was one of the most important shipping entrances to Alexandria, and often hosted processions and festivals. The width of the street, 30 meters, was abnormally large even by Greek standards. This is likely because the Canopic Way was made in a short span of time and based on an urban plan, as opposed to being slowly built over time, as was usual for the era. The Canopic Way originated in the western cemeteries, skirted the gymnasium, and then exited the city to head east through massive doorways towards Canopus. This structure was known as the Canopic Door.
Very interesting stuff.
Welcome to Alexandria, planning of the city. Alexander's plan to build his great city began with a verse from Homer's Odyssey. There is, in front of Egypt, in the sea with many swells, an island called Pharos. Guided by these clues, Alexander the Great founded his future city at the western end of the Nile Delta.
Okay.
Though Alexander considered this location ideal for his great city, it presented considerable challenges. Too difficult to access during storms, the surrounding swamps threatened disease, and the limestone soil prevented the growth of healthy crops. However, due to the influence of his mentor Aristotle, Alexander the Great recognized that the true value was its strategic emplacement. Alexander knew that in controlling Pelusium to the east, Memphis to the south, and his crowning glory Alexandria to the west, he would create a triangular stronghold, allowing him to control the entire delta while giving him access to the Mediterranean.
I mean, technically also... No, I was thinking of something else. Ignore that. Ignore what I was gonna say. Doesn't matter. I was wrong. I instantly
The great walls
saw I was
of
wrong.
Alexandria had a humble beginning. Lacking chalk to outline the future city's foundations, architects were forced to use flour instead.
Ah,
Clouds of migrating birds swept down and ate the flour, erasing the plans. This prompted Alexander to seek guidance from the oracles, who reassured him that his future city was destined to feed a large population. Excavations led by Mahmud Bey el-Falaki in the 19th century revealed that the wall enclosure measured approximately 5.2 kilometers in length and 2.2 kilometers in width. It was roughly 9 meters in height. These formidable ancient walls would resist a number of attacks, including fending off the king of Syria in 169 BCE. It wasn't until 295 CE that they eventually fell to Roman Emperor Diocletian, and this only after 8 months of relentless assault.
I mean... to build a wall, that's for sure. Only imagine what it takes. They keep using this picture now.
Dinocrates chose a Hippodamian grid plan. The grid maximized functionality, with wide, straight roads and canals running beneath them. Alexander recognized the military value of the city's design. The wide, parallel streets gave him optimal surveillance of the city, while allowing the unobstructed flow of troops. A central corridor ran from the Mediterranean's north port down to Lake Mareotis to the south. This thoroughfare acted as an unobstructed link for commercial trade and travel between the two ports. Many of the streets were bordered with grand buildings and parks, including Canopic Street, with its impressive gate bordering the eastern end. Alexandria was most likely built upon an already existing Egyptian village. Upon its completion, the Egyptians reviled the city, refusing to call it by its founder's name. Instead, they called it Raked, the building, as a mark of disdain, which was later Hellenized into Rakotis. Despite this, the name Alexandria would remain.
What's Rakotis mean? Does it mean the same thing? Means construction in progress. Ah.
Welcome to Alexandria, a commercial... The ports of Alexandria were a major commercial hub, effectively connecting Egypt with the Mediterranean regions and beyond. A tremendous amount of materials and goods flowed through the city on a daily basis. The large port market was called the Emporion. It was there that merchandise was traded by the ship owners, called nakliros.
I assume that meant something similar to merchant.
Food and other artisan work streamed out of Egypt. Ceramics, glass, golden rings, and minted coinage. The local potters, using traditional Egyptian techniques, competed with those from abroad, and the textile industry flourished. What Egypt did not produce itself was acquired through trade, using local resources such as wheat and papyrus. Most sought after was pine wood from Syria, iron and marble from the Greek islands, gold from Spain, and exotic fruits from Europe. All this commercial activity contributed to the already decadent wealth of the city.
How was your stream, by the way, Chaos? Did you have a... Those guys were freaking out for a second. Do you have a good stream?
The wood imported to Port Mariotis through Alexandria's seaward ports was used in the nearby shipyards, where most of Egypt's ships were built. Employing tens of thousands of shipbuilders, the shipyards contributed to establishing the Egyptian fleet as one of the mightiest of the era. Any wood not used in shipbuilding was further disseminated through Egypt for various purposes.
It took a lot for him to make boats, though. Apparently was tired and hungry. Was too tired and hungry to not be angry at the game all the time and kept getting owned by Malo spamming that stupid fucking knockback. Yeah, I can imagine it getting aggravating. Like when that fucking beetle destroyed me the other day in Xenoblade, where it just decided to nuke me. And I've played that game billions of times. I've never seen those beetles do an insta-kill move.
The southern port of Lake Mariotis was the biggest in Alexandria. Save for a branch angling westward, the lake's size in the Ptolemaic era was roughly 40 to 50 kilometers from north to south. Its waters were maintained by a steady runoff from the Nile. In addition to the lake, a man-made canal was created to assist in the transfer of goods from the city to the port using barges, though it is not represented in the game due to its size.
That's unfortunate. At least you'll play some Persona later, and you'll be happy with that. I think these statues are cool. It looks like someone hit the top of this one. I need to figure out a new afternoon stream time. Oh? What's wrong with the time you normally do? Oh yeah, that happened a lot to me yesterday, Xeno. Alright. Yeah. Someone got knocked off a small pebble and they instantly died. I was thinking my Switch is hating me. Yeah. That's an unfortunate thing about Xenoblade 2, where there's a lot more cliffs and shit. Like, you can legitimately get knocked off the map, and that can be just very aggravating.
Banking was one of the most distinctive innovations brought by the Greeks to Egypt. The centerpiece of Alexandria's wealth was the royal systematization of taxes on almost everything. Basic items such as salt, oil, beer, wheat, and linen were heavily taxed. As a result, the royal treasury of Alexandria was able to ensure the economic stability of most of the administrative areas of Egypt.
Ah. I mean, why don't you do... It's 11:17 right now. What time, at least for me, what time will it be in 2 hours? For you? I'm also having this conversation while learning about ancient Egyptian 217. Why don't you do it then? You could eat lunch.
By the late 12th century, the channel feeding the lake from the Nile silted up. Lake Mareotis lost its connection to the Mediterranean, as well as most of its water, as the lake slowly evaporated to a fraction of its former size.
Oh, that's shit.
In modern times, Lake Mareotis is being kept alive through irrigation. However, only about 17% of its original size remains.
Damn. The earth is a-changing. Might do it for. It's all up to you in the end. I'm only giving suggestions. Buddy, no.
Welcome to Alexandria, city of celebration. Like most Greek
What the fuck
cities,
is that?
Alexandria
Oh, wrestling.
offered multiple forms of entertainment. Most were related to cults, religious practices, and the festivities surrounding those practices. Among those festivities, the most important ones were the dynastic celebrations, instituted in honor of the deified Ptolemaic kings and queens. These celebrations could go on for many days and included sacrifices, offerings, processions, and public banquets.
Yeah, they be sacrificing that Nintendo 64 pig.
Games and competitions were organized whenever possible in locations such as the stadium, the hippodrome, and the gymnasium. The residents of Alexandria favored such events where athletes, poets, and musicians from Egypt and other cities of the Greek world competed.
And yeah, I guess there's not really a whole lot to do, so...
Like all good Greek cities, Alexandria had a theater. The architecture of this structure is Roman in style. This is because the team duplicated a theater from Cyrene. Roman theaters were usually semicircular and built from scratch on a flat area with structures designed to enhance oration. Greek theaters were more oblong in shape, similar to a horseshoe, and favored the slopes of natural hills to support their acoustics.
Okay. I mean, this looks good as an end result, but just as a quick complaint, why did you put a Roman theater in a Greek city?
At the theater, one could witness the plays of contemporary comic and tragic authors. The play you are witnessing below is Menander's Dyskalos, more commonly known as the Grouch, a late and popular entry in the Greek comedies.
There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of long ones for Alexandria. I mean, I think the longest was the 20 minutes, and then the rest all very, very short. Hey, Wyatt.
Welcome to Education in Alexandria.
When I finish this section,
The education of young Alexandrians did not differ from the one generally dispensed elsewhere in ancient Greece. At the age of 7, the child was taken in charge by a tutor, who then became responsible for instilling an elementary education as well as good moral principles. Teaching was generally done outside, in the open air. In the gymnasium, students were taught not only sports, but also topics such as rhetoric, philosophy, music, and poetry, all things deemed essential to one's education at the time. Here, both girls and boys are shown attending a class given by one of the rhetoricians of the era. The team made the choice to show both genders attending class within the context of the game world. Even though it is historically inaccurate, the team felt it was not necessary to prioritize historical sexism over inclusive gameplay.
Wait, inclusive gameplay? But it's not gameplay. I'm not arguing for them doing it, but it's not gameplay. We're not playing as these kids. We're not going to school. I don't count that as gameplay. Gameplay is stuff that the character does, not stuff that happens around them. The setting is part of the gameplay. I will say debatable, but I don't feel like... I don't feel like really arguing this point a whole lot. Now, horses shitting is part of our Red Dead Redemption 2's gameplay. That's a thing in the game for sure. I don't know if I count that as gameplay.
Welcome to the Great Library of Alexandria.
See, my problem is with their wording, not their decision. I had more of a problem with them deciding to use the Roman theater instead of a Greek theater in a Greek city. It's technically your character. No, your character rides on the horse. You don't play as the horse.
Near the district of royal palaces and within the Moseon was the most famous library of all antiquity. The Library of Alexandria was built to house all of human knowledge. At its pinnacle, the library was believed to contain over 700,000 parchments.
At which point did that shit get cut down?
Throughout the centuries, fires and wars between Christianity and paganism destroyed the library, leaving nothing behind. The loss of the building, and more importantly, its vast collection, is immeasurable. As no descriptions are available, the team's rendition of the Library of Alexandria was inspired by the visuals of the Library of Chalcis at Ephesus.
This annoys the shit out of me. I hate people destroying history, god damn it.
While much of the collection was purchased at the government's expense, the library also obtained books through other means. Any books owned by travelers coming through the city were seized to be copied for the library. The copy would then be returned to the owner, and the original entered into the library's collection.
That's actually kind of... That'd be so disorienting. Like, imagine like they don't have a copy of like your favorite book and you brought it in and you know it's like a one of a kind, or let's say you just wrote a book and so you know for a fact it's a one of a kind, and all of a sudden you just get it yoinked by the fucking people and they just went, we're borrowing this for a bit, and then away it went, and just all of a sudden you got it back. I also feel like a lot of porn would be entered into this library.
Alexandria offered unrivaled intellectual and cultural attractions. Eminent scholars from Athens, Rhodes, and other Greek centers traveled to the city to learn and engage with other free thinkers. Both the Mouseion and the library were at the center of groundbreaking ideas and creative expression.
No, the thing said you got it back and they kept a copy. So you get to keep the original. It's this one. Any books owned by travelers coming through the city were seized to be copied for the library. The copy would then be returned. Oh, no, you're right. That's honestly more annoying. That would be so bullshit.
The great minds of antiquity were usually well versed in many disciplines, which were often associated to specific schools of thought. The Peripatetics, the Stoics, and the Cynics were among the most well-known schools of the time. It is clear that Alexandria lived up to its fundamental role as a city for intellectuals, nurturing many great minds whose impact reverberates through our modern world.
Are they going to explain who this guy on the throne is?
Hypatia of Alexandria was a Greek mathematician, philosopher, astronomer, and inventor. Though born in Greece, she eventually migrated to Alexandria, like many great minds of the time. It is there that she became the head of the Neoplatonist school of Alexandria. From most accounts, she was highly respected by her fellow Alexandrians, both as a teacher and a philosopher. With her death, the age of great ancient scientific discoveries came to an end.
Everyone got real lazy when the teacher went away. I'm going to guess Hades.
Callimachus was born in Cyrene
I'm wrong.
and educated in Athens. After his studies, he moved to Alexandria to work in the Great Library. A poet and a critic, he strongly rejected the epic format of Homeric poems, and instead fervently supported a shorter, more judiciously formulated style of poetry. His epigrams and elegiac poems were emulated by later poets. His work was extremely popular, second only to Homer's own works.
I'm gonna guess Homer and this guy didn't get along then.
It was in Alexandria that mathematician Euclid, the father of geometry, wrote the Elements, laying out the foundational work of what would become modern algebra and number theory. Euclidean geometry would become one of the most influential systems in the evolution of mathematics.
You bastard. What's this? Wait, I can interact with this too?
How do you calculate the circumference of the Earth? With a camel, 2 sticks, and shadows cast by the sun.
I don't fucking
This
know.
is what Eratosthenes of Cyrene described in his principal work, Geography, while he was director of the Great Library of Alexandria. He is credited for the invention of the armillary spear around 250 BCE.
What's that? What's the armillary sphere? I don't know what that is. I also don't know how to fucking spell it, so... Let's go to Google. Armillary... artillery's popping up. Armillary sphere. What is this? Images. Oh! Wait, what the fuck was this used for, though? It seems very fucking complicated. I like it. Sphere that's made of different rings. It shows the positions of the planets. Oh! Okay. Oh, and there's one right here.
The earliest known and most complete armillary sphere of antiquity was the Meteoroscopion of Alexandria, with an imposing 9 rings compared to the 3 or 4 of most other astrolabes. Known as the zodiac krikatoi amongst the Greeks, the Meteoroscopion was used to determine the location of celestial bodies around the Earth. Every self-respecting astronomer of antiquity would have sought to use this tool to better understand the celestial movements.
I think it's sick. I think this is really fucking cool. They just built all this shit way back when. It's fucking amazing.
Pythagoras of Samos was a well-known and respected philosopher and mathematician. He is best known for the Pythagorean theorem. However, there is proof that the theorem existed in Babylonia and India long before Pythagoras was born, casting some doubts as to who exactly originated the theorem.
Yeah, well, it's named after him now, so it sucks to be those other guys.
Welcome to the Moseon of Alexandria.
I don't know what Moseon means, but let's go.
The Moseon was a sector of the city commissioned by Ptolemy I to rival Athens' Academy as an institute of intellectual pursuit. Dedicated to the 9 inspiring muses, the Moseon became a great center for philosophical and scientific enlightenment. It welcomed scholars from many kingdoms, inviting them to share knowledge in literature, science, and geography.
Basically like a college campus.
The Moseon was designed so that its buildings and grounds would accommodate free thinking, debate, and presentation. Meeting spaces and theaters surrounded a main courtyard. Expansive gardens were filled with exotic plants that aided in the study and supply of herbs and medicines. A zoo offered the study of animal behavior and physiology. Also among the Moseon's many star attractions was its astronomical observatory.
There's no way they put a zoo in this game.
Herophilus was a physician who lived most of his life in Alexandria. He was able to perform the dissection of human cadavers on a large scale due to the permissiveness of the city in such matters. Among many other discoveries, he learned that the brain was central to the human nervous system. He also extensively mapped the blood system and measured the pulse with the aid of a water clock. It is reported that in his thirst to understand human anatomy, he performed 600 vivisections on live prisoners.
Oh, well, I hope they did something worthy of that fucking punishment. There's no way there's a zoo in this game. Could you imagine being an ancient prisoner and getting told that your punishment for whatever you did, like, hopefully something horrible and warranting it, you're getting told that, I'm sorry, we're not going to give you an execution today. This science guy over here, though, he's going to fucking cut you open and, you know, vivisect you. Have fun.
In order to be free to pursue their research, scholars were fed and housed at the Moseon at the government's expense. This freedom provided Alexandria's scholars a meeting space for intellectual pursuits and a haven for spiritual peace. Though nothing remains of the original Moseon, it lives on as the legacy of our modern museums.
Water clock.
According to Wikipedia, a water clock or
Okay.
bicycle is a timepiece.
I wonder why he would use a water clock instead of, like, what are they called? A sundial, but whatever they want, I guess. 4 more, and then we're done for this for the day.
Welcome to the Serapion of Alexandria.
I don't know these words. What's a Serapion? Is it a temple? Is that what it is? It's like a temple?
In a city of numerous magnificent attractions, the Serapion was considered to be the most beautiful temple of Alexandria.
Okay.
Located southwest of the city, on a small hill known as the Acropolis, the sanctuary was constructed during the reign of Ptolemy III, upon foundations which had existed since the reign of Ptolemy I Soter.
Very. See, it's weird to me that they built this temple so high up, and then that's Hades up there. Or as the Romans would call him, Pluto.
Visitors of the Serapion climbed 100 steps to reach the courtyard. Libraries were installed in the porticos surrounding the square building, with its roof and columns adorned with gold and gilded bronze. Pharaohs were generous to the temple, as were several Roman emperors after Egypt's conquest.
Is that gold?
An inner temple housed the statue of Serapis, dedicated to healing the sick. Since the 26th dynasty, Greeks in Egypt had gradually integrated the Egyptian cult of the Apis bull to their own rituals. With the establishment of the Ptolemaic dynasty, the cult of Apis was further integrated into Greek religion. During his rule, Ptolemy I chose to merge Egyptian and Hellenic gods into a syncretic divinity named Serapis. This name was the result of the amalgamation of Osiris and Apis. With this new deity, the Ptolemaic dynasty managed to accommodate similar belief sets for two different cultures, bringing about a new dynastic cult.
I have questions on certain things, but I don't think I should ask them just yet.
Serapis was also associated to other deities, including Asclepius, a Greek god of healing. It is possible that, as with the Serapis Temple of Canopus, the sick would visit this sanctuary, sleeping there overnight in the hopes of being healed within its hallowed halls.
Three more. This is honestly going faster than it did yesterday. They just have naked dudes flashing people.
Welcome to the Islands of Ferris.
It was daytime. Why'd you make it
Was a
nighttime?
bridge-like causeway connecting the island of Ferris to mainland Alexandria. Its name is based on the Greek terms of measurement, hepta, meaning 7, and stadion, which is a measure of length of roughly 180 meters. Since its construction would separate the Grand Port to the east and the port of Eunostos to the west, it was designed with channels at each end. These openings allowed passage from one port to the other. Along with creating separate harbors for the commercial and military shipping, the causeway served as a main aqueduct for the island's inhabitants. Its presence also helped protect the island and its ports from rough wind and sea currents. At the end of antiquity, the heptastadion disappeared under layers of silt and soil, which formed an important sedimentary deposit.
It's another thing to consider with a lot of this stuff is that it might just be gone because the Earth decided.
While the Serapion was the most celebrated of the temples in Alexandria, many other temples were built within the city. Most of these structures have been completely erased over time, and there is no way to discern how many existed.
Yeah.
However, research of ancient papyri offer tantalizing hints as to the possible location of at least some of the temples.
Annoyance. Annoyance.
Both papyri and coins reveal evidence of many temples built for the gods. Poseidon, the god of the sea, likely had an edifice in his honor west of this island, as well as on the mainland. This temple next to you is dedicated to Isis Feria, the divine protector of the lighthouse. This location hosted annual celebrations in the month of April, known as the Sacrum Feria, in connection to the lighthouse. In her incarnation as Isis Fortuna, the goddess carries a rudder and a cornucopia, both symbols of good luck for navigators.
Okay. How is a cornucopia a symbol of good luck, though? I don't get that. That doesn't... Not my culture, I guess. I don't know. I don't see how that means good luck. I guess there's also people out there who go, what the fuck's the four-leaf clover supposed to mean?
Considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Lighthouse of Alexandria was a source of great pride for the inhabitants of the city. Construction began under Ptolemy I's reign and lasted 15 years. It was completed during his son's rule. Once completed, the lighthouse was dedicated to the gods for the salvation of those who sail the sea.
Jesus. That still seems really fast for something that... I don't know if it was actually that big, but still.
Built on the island of Pharos, the stone structure was 3 tiers set on top of one another in a step formation. The second floor consisted of an octagonal tower, and the top floor was a cylindrical tower topped by a statue. The interior provided space for staff rooms and a ramp which allowed the transport of fuel to the upper floors. Essential to safe navigation through the rifts and shallow waters, the Pharos was a functioning lighthouse with a beam reportedly visible 50 kilometers away. It's unclear what kind of fuel was used or how much. Any other details of how the light worked remain a mystery.
I mean, did they have oil at the time? Maybe it was an oil lamp.
For several centuries, the Pharos was one of the highest monuments ever built by man. It measured roughly 110 meters in height, compared to the Pyramid of Giza, which was around 140 meters tall. Gradually, the structure was eroded by earthquakes, and then completely destroyed in 1480 CE, when a fort was built over it. Archaeological excavations on the seabed have uncovered many blocks from the ancient building.
Always being fed, always being wealthy. Ah!
Welcome to the Panean.
The Panean!
The Panean was a temple built in honor of the god Pan, divinity of nature. This Greek god, often represented as a half-man, half-goat, with a beard, horns, and goat's hooves, was considered the protector of shepherds and herds.
I know of Pan.
Pan's attribute was his namesake musical instrument, the pan flute. His temples were usually located in caves and on high mountains, and were frequented by shepherds. It is likely that Mediterranean cults adopted the imagery of Pan to symbolize the Christian devil.
Oh, cool stuff.
To give proper honor to the god, Alexandrians built an artificial hill upon which they housed his temple to compensate for the flat relief of the city. The artificial mound had the shape of a spinning top or a pine cone, which was accessed by a spiral staircase. The top had a panoramic view of the entire city.
Ah.
Only such heights would be fitting for a mountain god.
It's not a mountain god, though. It's a nature god, and I don't know how much a nature god would appreciate one of his temples being built on something man-made. guess at some point we see fortune as being good luck. Yeah.
Welcome to the Hippodrome of Alexandria. The main hippodrome of the city was called the Legeon, in honor of Lagos, the ancestor of the Ptolemies. Alexandrians were great lovers of horse racing. They were fascinated by the rivalry of these races, the agon, as it was said at that time, that every competition brought. It was a struggle for glory.
It was a fun mini-game that I enjoyed.
The most important chariot race was the Tethrapon. Using 4 horses with the quickest harness to the front right, the charioteer would race for 12 laps, with sharp turns at either end of the hippodrome. The victors were crowned with garlands of olive and received prize money, but the most sought-after reward was to be acclaimed by the works of poets, such as Callimachus and Pindar.
I don't know if I want to be in any of the works by Pindar. I'm sorry, my maturity of 12 is, ruining this historical.
Ye hymns that rule the lyre, what god, what hero, aye, and what man shall we loudly praise? Verily Zeus is the lord of Pisa, and Heracles established the Olympic festival, while Theron must be proclaimed by reason of his victorious chariot with its 4 horses. Theron, who is just in his regard for guests, and who is the bulwark of Akragas, the choicest flower of an auspicious line of sires, whose city towers on high, bringing wealth and glory to crown their native merits.
Okay. I mean, I was expecting maybe a little bit more after that, but that's the end of Alexandria. Next we are going to start Egypt, and then we'll go over the daily life of Egyptians. And those will be probably split up into 2, depending on how fast we get through these. 9, 3, 9, 7, 2, 3, 7, 9, 2, 7, 3. I mean, is there any, like, super long ones in these? We might be able to do both, depending. 3, 3, 3, 4, 6, 9. So, I mean, we might be able to do both daily life and Egypt next time. But we are now done. 2, we're done Alexandria. Oh, 3, we're done Alexandria. We're done the pyramids. We're done the Romans. I assume that they will probably have a little bit more coverage in Odyssey, but I think Odyssey is based more during Greek time, so there's not really a chance. I mean, a high chance of it. It's still there. And there's Egypt. Okay. I'm enjoying this. I'm liking this. I'm finding all this super fucking interesting. As I've stated before and many times, I hope you are too, and if you're not, I suppose there are other people to watch.